Welcome back to the channel today, guys. And we had a nice, simple episode of Chainsaw Man. We're out for one thing and one thing only today. Revenge. And rightfully so, because Division 4, and honestly all the divisions, frankly, got done so dirty. They got tossed aside like children, basically, in their fights. And it's time for some sweet old revenge, baby. And I am here for it. We also got to meet a lot of new devil users in this episode. Like a lot, actually. Which I feel like is setting up for future events down the line. And I'll keep it a buck with you guys. I don't expect a lot of these people to survive. At this point in the show, I just assume that if you're not like a main character, you're gonna die at some point. Some way, somehow, you're just gonna end up dying. But we really got introduced to a lot today. And I find that really interesting, because there's a lot of unique and weird devils out there. Especially the future devil. So let's just get in to talk about Chainsaw Man, episode 11 today. So right off the bat, we're back at Aki in the underground prison as he's meeting the future devil. And when we finally see him, he is the one that was in the opening. I was right last week. But his personality is not what I expected, to say the least. He's literally just going around dancing like the future rules, and Aki's just looking at him like, what am I getting into? I got enough headaches already to deal with. Aki just cuts straight to the chase like, I'm here to make a contract with you. Tell me what you want from me. The future devil's just like, man, you got a real shitty attitude, man. You're not fun. But he still says, whatever, let's take a peek at that future of yours. What I see will help me decide on the trade. Why don't you stick your head right in my gut already? How else am I supposed to see your future? Obviously. And while Aki's doing that, we actually do get a little bit of an unnerving scene. Besides the fact that he's dancing with Aki inside of him. Pause. Because he stops dancing, and he just starts laughing all of a sudden. As he tells Aki, here's how it's going to work. I'm going to live inside your right eye. That way, I can lend you my power. But then he notices that Aki doesn't believe him as he says, that look is asking, is that really all? And he gives his reasoning that your death in the future will fucking rule. Which raises some red flags, to say the least. As he asks Aki, you want to know how you're going to die, man? But Aki tells him, I'm not interested in how I die. As long as I can kill my targets, the rest doesn't matter. Now, get in my eye. And like I said last week, this is kind of what I was worried about. Without an anchor to hold Aki down now, I feel like he's just going to be even more reckless. He's just going to not care about his life even more. He didn't even attempt to bargain. Granted, he got a really good deal from the future devil, but he didn't even attempt to bargain or do anything like that. Now, without anyone there to be an anchor for him, I feel like he's going to really do some crazy stuff. And that might be good against devils, but it's not going to be good for him. And it's here we transition to Kishibe's training of Denji and Power, and they're still getting shit on. They're getting curve stomped. But they've definitely gotten better, as he says. We don't need to do this every day from now on. Let's cut back to once a week. And they're just like, yeah, we did it. Oh, my side hurts. Kishibe tells them, you gotta make sure your brain keeps it cool, even when you're feeling high. Never forget your situation and the weapons available to you. Tomorrow, we're gonna try some live combat with an eye towards training. As he tells them, we're gonna grab the snake devil woman and the samurai man that got Himeno and the others. We're out for some revenge, baby. It's gonna be the rollout of the all-new Division 4. If this ops goes bad, the division is done for. Which means you two will get disposed of in a for-real battle with me. Capiche? As Denji just shows he's got some balls in this situation, as he says, if it comes to that, I'll show you some mercy and let you live, teach. You made me stronger, after all. I can kill more devils because of you. And that means I've got my ticket to hooking up with Makima. It all comes full circle. But it's here we actually transition to Kishibe meeting with Makima, which I didn't expect. As she tells him, I hope you'll continue to instruct Denji in power for me. As he tells them, I'm sick of them already. Whenever the hunting dogs I train end up dead, I find myself drinking more. I figured I wouldn't mind what happened to a pair of toys, but must be old age. Now I'm even getting attached to them. And it's here he just puts his cards on the table and asks Makima the question that literally we've all had, as he says, the assault that hit the special division. Public safety isn't exactly clueless. You knew it was going to happen, and you didn't try to stop it, right? She rebuttals and says, I came under attack too, remember? But Kishibe's not listening to that nonsense at all, as he says, I don't care what fucked up shit you have cooking, or how many of my hunting dogs you get killed. You get a pass as long as you're serving mankind's interests. But only in that case. As Makima tells him, all I want is to save as many people as possible from devils. If this operation is a success, Division 4 existence will actively become part of the public record. That'll give us more freedom and we'll be able to save even more people from devils. But he just points at her and says, you liar. You're lying. And we see she still has that eerie ass freaking smile on her face, dude. He's seeing through her bullshit. And it's here we transition to Sawatari and her group of people that attacked Division 4 as they're preparing for an assault. Like, they know they're coming, so they're preparing for it. As Sawatari says, nowhere in Japan is safe as long as Makima is alive. True. We're ready for them if they strike here. The rest of you don't need to worry about the big guy over there. Even if he dies, he can be brought back. But if you're staying here, you need to be careful about getting bit. As they say, we got a secret weapon stored below us. An army of zombies made up of deadbeats who couldn't pay their debts. A human who gets bitten by a zombie becomes a zombie, as horror movies have told us. We'll use them to finish Division 4 off. And it's here we transition to Tendo and Kuroshi dropping Aki off after he made a successful deal with the Future Devil. As Kuroshi tells him, we'll probably never meet again, so there's something I wanted to ask you. I heard you're after the Gun Devil, Aki. You seriously think you can kill that thing? You just lost the folks who managed to kill around 20 public safety agents. You think you've got a shot against a freak who took down millions of people all over the world in seconds? If I'm being real, just looking at you kind of pisses me off, Aki. Weak as you are, you go around with that hotshot goal looking like some kind of manga character. It's so lame it gives me goosebumps. As Aki tells him, I really don't care what you have to say. Just sit back and watch. And if I lose and end up dead, go ahead and laugh then. I know I'm not being realistic about what I can accomplish right now, but I also know I couldn't keep going any other way. And as Aki's leaving, Kuroshi throws him a drink and says, you might piss me off, but I am still rooting for you. And I wouldn't necessarily say they're on good terms, but at the very least, he doesn't want to see Aki die. And it's here we transition to a very interesting scene, as we see Makima meeting up with the Yakuza of all people. And I already know, I see the meme already. I literally see the meme in this picture right now. I know it's gonna happen. Let's just keep it at that. As their leader says, I heard about our younger guys popping off in Tokyo. I figure I owe you an answer. Any answers I've got. I want you to understand that it wasn't on my orders. As he puts a picture of Sawatari down on the table and says, she was the contact that hooked these kids into deals involving the Gun Devil. As he says, they gave the Gun Devil 20,000 yen, and they got guns and ammo in exchange. As he says, fancy that. Devils needing money. They're not so different from us after all. As Makima says, I need you to write down the names of everyone in your organization that has a contract with the Gun Devil. But she adds, I'll also need the names of other crime families as well, not just yours. And you can instantly tell he's not a fan of that one. As he tells her, if I did that and the other families found out, it'd mean war. She tells him it's for the safety of the public, but he rebuttals and says, you ever hear the term necessary evil before, miss? If we wipe each other out, all that does is open Japan to foreign mafia. The Chinese and Soviet mobs make us look like angels. And we're the ones keeping them at bay. Just how the devil hunters keep people safe from devils, the Yakuza is keeping Japan safe from foreigners. And yet again, Makima shows just why she's actually terrifying, like legitimately terrifying as a person, as she takes out a paper bag and says, "This is a collection of things that belong to associates of everyone here. Parents, grandparents, siblings, lovers, wives. Their eyes are in this bag." And when he looks in the bag, it's literally their eyeballs inside of it. As she says, public safety has someone who can return these safely. In exchange for your cooperation, I can introduce you. As someone tries to hit her, and she just looks at them like, go ahead and try. You're already dead. And he does drop dead right there. As she says, when you talk about necessary evil, you're using that term to justify the evil acts you commit. Society doesn't need your excuses. It's not a true necessary evil. Unless the nation itself is holding the leash and maintaining control. As she's basically telling him, you're not a necessary evil, I am. And it's here we transition to the raid on the terrorist hideouts. We see that everyone's primed and ready to go in and cause some havoc. As Aki walks up to Kisabi and asks him, what's the plan? But he tells him, there's no plan. The entire special division goes in. And as we see everyone heading into the building, Kisabi gets approached by some cops and another special division member. As for the first time in the show, he actually says his name for once. I didn't have to look it up this time, guys. But it's here he tells them, alright, the special division will take out the terrorists inside. But there's one thing you need to be careful about. Special Division 4 is comprised almost entirely of non-humans. If any of them get loose in the city, it'll mean worse casualties than the terrorists could have caused. I'm going to tell you their unique characteristics because you need to be prepared to engage with them, not the terrorists. And it's here we start getting a breakdown of all the new members of Division 4, as we see the Shark Fiend. He can swim inside any surface, including walls and floors. A really handy ability, honestly. He can also transform into his devil form for brief periods of time. Next, we have the Violence Fiend. Normally, becoming a fiend makes the devil weaker than they were. But even as a fiend, this one's dangerous enough that we make the Violence Fiend wear a mask that dispenses poison gas. That mask stays on, no matter what. Now this next one's a little creepy, as we have the Spider Devil. Most of the time she assumes a human form, and humanoid devils are usually friendly. But at the end of the day, they're still devils. They'll kill you for looking at them funny. And lastly, we have the Angel Devil, which you would think would be a really big contradiction, but whatever. Bit of a special case. No malice towards humans, but you'll want to keep your distance. Physical contact means your lifespan drains away. As they actually walk up towards Aki and say, hey, you got a handkerchief I could borrow? A little random, but makes sense. They are bloodied. As Aki walks up and hands them one, and they say, wow, I'm impressed you came this close since I can shorten your life with just a touch. As Aki says, it's okay as long as material breaks the contact, right? Kind of giving us a sense of like what the limitation of the Angel Devil's power is in this instance. So they have to physically touch you for them to be able to shorten your lifespan. But it's here that Aki addresses Denji in power and says, alright, we'll let the fiends handle this here. Let's find Samurai's sword and the Snake Woman. And as Aki's walking around, he runs right into Sawatari, who I imagine was waiting for him. And immediately she says, Snake, spit it out. And it's here we get an extremely scumbag move because we see that she's controlling Ghost now. As she actually has Ghost attack Aki. Now Aki's putting up a really good fight, but he is only human at the end of the day. As the Future Devil tells him, if you use my power, you'll be able to peek a bit into the future. But that's all. It doesn't make you stronger, doesn't make you faster or anything else. That's all he has, seeing the future. And as the fight with Ghost intensifies, Aki gets pushed back. Ghost stabs him in the gut, grabs him by the neck, and is choking him, as Sawatari says, choke him to death. And our episode ends with Aki seemingly getting choked out. Now, this was an interesting episode because, as we know, they only have 12 episodes in this season. So next week is the final. And I gotta say, it's a nice start to a series. This first half of Chainsaw Man, it's been a nice start. It's been nothing crazy, though. I'm sorry. I'll tell you guys this right now. This is not Anime of the Year. I'm sorry. This is not. If you're offended by this, I'm just keeping it a buck with you. We're in the early stages of this series. There's so much more we have to see. So for now, there's no way this can be Anime of the Year. That being said, I think this will be a satisfying place to end it if we see them get revenge for Himeno and all them. You know, we're set, because literally we introduced characters in this episode that are clearly setting up for future seasons of the show. So I'm very curious to know how next week is going to end, actually. I really am. Because that's going to determine where we go from here. So you guys let me know what you thought of this episode down below. Some good old-fashioned revenge we're getting this week. I'm down for it. But like I said, I'm very interested to see what happens next week as we conclude our first part of Chainsaw Man. So until next week, guys, I hope you have a great day, week, month, and year. And until then, deuces and have a blessed day. I'll see you guys then.